Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into how the European Union is building what's being called a trade bazooka and aiming it straight at the US tech industry. And we're going to uncover how one single company out of the Netherlands might just be the secret weapon in this whole new global tech standoff.
Okay, so let's jump right in. This whole story really kicks off with this little hint dropped in the Wall Street Journal. It's from an anonymous source, but it points to a huge strategic shift happening in Brussels, one that could seriously shake up the entire global tech world.
So, to really get our heads around this, we're going to break it down into 5 parts. First, we'll look at the political drama that's sparking all this. Then, we'll figure out what tech sovereignty actually means. After that, we'll unveil this trade bazooka. Then comes the fun part, revealing Europe's real secret weapon. And finally, we'll ask, what happens next?
All right, so first up, this new tech standoff. What is really driving this sudden aggressive new attitude from the EU? Well, it turns out the answer comes down to one thing: political fear. You have to remember, the backstory here is that lingering feeling of uncertainty left over from former President Trump's tariff threats and his, let's say, unpredictable political style. It's left a lot of European leaders feeling exposed, and it's pushing them to build a much stronger defense plan for themselves. And here's what really keeps them up at night. The nightmare scenario for them is that a US president could, with a single signature on an executive order, just cut them off from the American tech they depend on. We're talking about things like the data centers that run their cloud, the email software that businesses and even governments need just to operate day to day. So this fear of being cut off, this feeling of vulnerability, it has led directly to the EU's big official response. And it's all built around this powerful new buzzword, tech sovereignty. So what is it? Well, to put it simply, tech sovereignty is basically Europe saying, hey, we need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. It's all about relying less on tech from other countries, especially the US, and at the same time, doing everything they can to build up their own homegrown tech companies. And this isn't just talk, it's actually becoming official policy. The European Commission has already launched a formal plan to make this happen, and they're out there gathering feedback from the public right now to figure out their next move. But here's where it gets really juicy. This isn't just a defensive move. The EU has also been building a very powerful offensive weapon, and it has a pretty unforgettable nickname.
Its official name is the Anti-Coercion Instrument, or ACI, but everyone calls it the Trade Bazooka. Why? Because it's a massive package of tariffs and trade restrictions that represent some serious economic firepower. And here's the kicker. This whole Trade Bazooka thing, it was originally designed to be used against China. But now you have officials in Brussels hinting that they might just fire it for the very first time at a historic ally, the United States.
Now, at first glance, this looks like a totally lopsided fight, right? I mean, if the EU cuts the US off from Spotify, it's annoying. But if the US cuts Europe off from its data centers, that could be catastrophic. It feels like the threat doesn't really have much bite.
But this is the moment the whole story takes a wild turn. Because it turns out there's a hidden ace up Europe's sleeve, a secret weapon that could completely flip this entire power dynamic on its head.
So the big question is, what could the EU possibly have that is so fundamental, so critical to the US economy that it could level the playing field, or maybe even tip it in their favor? The answer, believe it or not, comes down to one single company that most people have never even heard of. It's a Dutch company called ASML, and it holds an absolutely critical piece of the entire global tech puzzle. You see, ASML is the only company on the planet that makes a very specific machine. It's called an EUV lithography machine. You can think of it like a hyper-advanced printer for computer chips. And this machine, it is absolutely essential for making the most advanced chips in the world, the very chips that power the entire AI revolution. Let this sink in for a second. Their market share for this critical technology isn't 90%, it isn't 99%, it is 100%. They have a complete and total monopoly on a technology that is foundational to the future of, well, everything.
And this really shows the kind of power the EU is sitting on. The ability to control who gets access to ASML's machines. That's not a trade bazooka. As one source put it, it's more like a small, tactical economic nuke. So, with the stakes this high, with that kind of economic weapon on the table, what happens next? Where could this possibly go from here?
Well, this isn't just something that politicians are worrying about in Brussels. You can see real anxiety bubbling up from regular people. If you look at forums like Reddit's Buy from EU, you see users talking about this growing paranoia that they're just going to get cut off from the American social media platforms they use every single day.
And that brings us to the final, huge question. The European Union now knows it holds this incredible piece of leverage, a potential economic game ender. It has its finger on the trigger. The question is, will it ever be fired?